Zangpola and welcome to the Bhutan Storytelling Series. My name is Tsedon Dorji and today I'll be reading a short story called I Won't Ask Mother from the book Tales in Color and Other Stories by Kunzang Choden. I Won't Ask Mother. Whenever Yishimo had some spare time, she goes to stand at the edge of the hill to look down at the school. She looks longingly at the children in their uniforms with their backpacks filled with books. She envies them. They are the lucky ones. Yishimo thinks that it's too late for her now. She is already 18 years old and cannot go back to school. Who starts school at 18? But she did go to school once for a whole year. She was in kindergarten in that very school that she looks at every day. She remembers her first day. Her mother had accompanied her that day. She had been excited and yet nervous. She remembers feeling the crisp new uniform rubbing against her legs as she walked and the pinch of the new shoes on her little right toe. She recalls her mother standing in the distance with the other mothers with a broad smile on her face as the children were made to stand in lines. Yishimo's year in school was an uneventful one. Most of the time, the children memorized the alphabets in English and Dzongkha. They sang and danced a lot. By the end of the year, she had also learned to write her name in bold, blunt letters in English and delicate, curvy letters in Dzongkha. Now she recollected little of what she had learned. It was such a long time ago. Yishimo had to leave school the year her mother's health had suddenly taken a turn for the worse. That was just after she had completed kindergarten. Her mother needed her daughter in the house as none of the boys would be of any use. How can a boy do a woman's work of running a house and caring for a sick mother? Mother had reasoned loudly. Her parents said that it was enough if they had 3 educated children in the family. After all, her 2 older brothers were already going to school, and her younger brother too would be joining once school reopened the next year. Mother was never a healthy person. She was always ailing in some way. She suffered from terrible spells of dizziness and had to stay in bed for days at a time. She moaned loudly. When she moaned like that, everybody had to be very quiet, and they had to whisper when they talked and walk on tiptoe, for any noise aggravated Mother's dizziness. In between her groans, they heard her crying in a trembling voice, "My miserable karma! Why am I so wretched?" Father got impatient and threatened to leave his family and go away. But they all knew that he could not go. For where would he go? He was a simple man with a severe speech impairment and could not talk without slurring and stuttering. He also had a bad leg that made him limp. He had nowhere to go to. It was an empty threat. The situation was not new for Yishimo. Her life had always been marked by these events. Mother groaning and trying to hold still, father threatening to leave, and the boys getting ever more uncooperative and boisterous. She saw all these problems, but there was little that she could do to change anything. So she simply said, "I'm not sure what to do. I will have to ask Mother." The declaration of not knowing what to do freed her from the responsibility of doing something to change the situation. Her mother was not afraid of father leaving the house, but she was terrified that her daughter would meet a man and move out with him and leave the family. Without Yishimo, she would never manage on her own, so she warned her every day. "Daughter," she called. Yishimo immediately knew that when her mother called her daughter rather than by her name, that it would be the repetition of the monologue that she thought of as, "Let Mother tell you." She felt her body grow tense and dullness spread through her head. Yet, as a dutiful daughter, she knew she had to listen to what her mother had to say. Be careful, daughter. You don't know what it means to be a woman. We are not like men. We have to be extra careful. Before you realize what is happening, you will have a string of children around your neck. Look at me, struggling from dawn to late night for you children. It pained Yishimo to see the look of dejection and bewilderment on her mother's face when she said, "That's enough, mother. Don't repeat the same things." Yishimo's interjections came as such a shock that mother stopped midway through her sentence, suddenly looking lost and confused. Anyway, Yishimo had not yet met a man whom she fancied. How could she leave her family with 3 brothers still in school, a father who was not like other fathers, smart and able-bodied, and a mother who suffered from such sudden illnesses? She worked hard, but her mother was slow in her praises and too quick to point out her failings. Every morning there was chaos in the house. First, the boys refused to get up when Yishimo got up to clean the house and prepare the food. The boys never helped her. They always had homework to finish or tests to study for. Mother found endless chores around the house, all the time complaining. And all these nameless jobs that take so much time. Father went to attend to the cattle after he had burned incense in the incense burner, a daily ritual he performed without fail. The boys squabbled and shouted at each other until mother smacked the one nearest to her and scolded Yishimo. "Look, daughter, they have to go to school. Give them food quickly and send them away. Why are you so late today?" Yishimo worried that the neighbors would hear all the commotion and begged them to be quiet. Lowering her own voice to a whisper, she implored, "How disgraceful! What will the neighbors think of us? Please be quiet." She imagined the neighbors saying, "See, that's how uneducated people behave." Nobody seemed to hear her. As much as she loved her brothers, she resented the fact that she had to interrupt her studies so that they could go to school. She hoped that the least that they could do for her sacrifice was do well in school and get good jobs. She worried when they did not study. She got up extra early on the mornings when they had exams to make sure to wake them up to study. When they failed the exams, she rebuked them, getting emotional and teary. She was becoming like her mother in the very ways that she disliked, like repeating herself in long, self-pitying monologues. "Why don't you study harder and do better? Look what happened to me. I could not continue school, and now I am stuck here in the house without any prospects for a future. Look at my friend Chunzom. She is working in an office and has a good salary. Do you know she even bought a TV with her salary? She has the prestige of working in an office. She has a place in society. Do you want to be like me?" Finally, Yishimo was all alone in the house. The boys had left for school. They would only come home briefly for lunch at noon. Father had gone to plow the field and would come home only later. Mother had to go and see a sick friend in another village, and she would return home only in the evening. As usual, when going to see a sick person, Mother packed the customary basket full of uncooked rice and 1/2 kilogram of butter. As she prepared these gifts, she continued to give her last instructions in her usual monologue. Mother's words faded into the background, and Yishimo only heard the songs from a recent movie on her radio. The sad love songs filled the room and penetrated her heart. She felt a mysterious longing. Just before the door shut, she heard her mother's last words. "Yeah, don't spend too much time listening to the radio and daydreaming. There's work all around you waiting to be done." Yishimo smiled absently, for she could see what had to be done. Everywhere she looked, she only saw work, but it seemed like Mother felt compelled to tell her each task that needed to be done, even the obvious ones, like cleaning the house, and washing the dishes. In fact, it appeared like Yishimo made no decisions at all. She just did what mother told her to do. Like every day, the breakfast utensils had to be gathered and washed, and the house cleaned. Yishimo took down the big aluminum bowl from the shelf and systematically placed the utensils in it, stacking them one on top of another. After she had put away the pan and electric rice cooker, she carried the aluminum bowl to the tap outside her house. She crouched on the concrete floor under the tap and began to scrub the soiled plates and cups, dabbing the scrubber in a bowl of dissolved surf washing powder. The water splashed down from the leaking tap, and she felt the wetness soaking in through her clothes. She put the washed utensils back into the bowl and let them drip dry in the sun. She stood up and soaked her hands. She spread out her fingers and inspected them. They were covered in soap suds. How would these fingers look on a computer keyboard? She mused and smiled. Then she rinsed her hands and tried to shake off the water from her clothes. Just then, she saw her neighbor Dzongkha Choden going to work. She had joined school a year after Yishimo, and she had dropped out in class 8. But her uncle in Thimphu helped her get into a computer training course and then helped her get to a job immediately in a government office. If only I had continued school and had a well-connected relative in Thimphu to help me get a job, I wouldn't be here, Yishimo thought with a sinking heart. Every morning, at about this time, she saw Dzongkha Choden going past her house. Dzongkha Choden had worn her kira so long that the hem swept the ground as she walked. As she passed Yishimo's yard and had to cross the overflowing drain, she gracefully pulled up her kira above her ankles and crossed the drain nimbly. She looked up suddenly and saw Yishimo looking at her. Dzongkha Choden's lips, which were darkened with brown lipstick, parted into a smile of greeting. Yishimo smiled back at her, but her eyes were focused on the high-heeled shoes that Dzongkha Choden was wearing and admired her as she daintily maneuvered herself over the uneven cobblestone pathway. Staring absently, Yishimo let her usual chain of thoughts run in her mind. If only I could have continued school. Even if I don't have a well-connected uncle in Thimphu, I would have worked and worked hard and done well enough to be going to an office instead of cleaning up everybody's mess. I would not have to do all these nameless chores in the house day after day. Yishimo had a pair of high-heeled shoes once. Her cousin in Thimphu had sent her a pair, but she could not bring herself to wear them. I cannot wear these shoes. These are for girls who work in offices and not someone like me. Mother, what do you think? Can uneducated girls wear high-heeled shoes? She asked her mother. She had a tube of lipstick, a pale pink one she had self-indulgently bought one day in the market. She had gone to buy rice and cooking oil when she saw the tubes of lipstick lined up in the glass counter. She had stood there for a long time in front of the counter, indecisive, asking herself repeatedly, would mother approve? Then suddenly, she had said, I will take this one, and pointed to the palest pink shade. Mother had breathed heavily, sighed deeply, and frowned when Yishimo showed her the lipstick, but she had not said anything. Yishimo wore the lipstick only on special occasions and felt self-conscious all day. She could not behave like an educated girl. How can she possibly work in the garden and the fields with lipstick and high-heeled shoes? Yishimo was wearing a pair of flat plastic shoes and stood with her legs apart in the soil she had dug. She knew exactly when and where to sow the seeds, but as always, she had waited for her mother to tell her. She ate lunch by herself. Her friend Chonzom had invited her to come to our house to watch TV in the evening. She hadn't told mother as yet. Just the thought of telling her mother made her feel tense and uneasy. She could see her mother looking at her questioningly. "You went to see TV just the other night. What's there to see again and again?" But today, she was not going to explain the same thing again. She would cook dinner early, and she would just ask father to tell mother that she had gone to Chonzom's house. That way, she would not need to wait for mother's questions and her reluctant permission. A few minutes after she had entered her friend's house, even before they had switched on the TV, the electricity went out. Chonzom shone the flashlight to look for a candle on the shelf and lit it. The girls sat by the candlelight, drinking tea and eating roasted rice. They talked and laughed as they waited for the electricity. Yishimo suddenly asked her friend, "How does it feel like to have a job outside the home?" "Well, I went to school for 11 years, so I feel happy that I got a job. It would have been humiliating if I didn't get a job. I can't imagine how my parents would have taken it. Worse still, what would the neighbors have said? I feel really lucky." "Do you like your job? I mean, what kind of things do you do in the office?" Yishimo's eyes were shining in the dimly lit room. She could barely wait to hear her friend's answer. "I'm doubly lucky to get a job and have a good boss. He is kind and understanding. He just lets me be. He neither scolds me nor overworks me. There isn't that much work either. I work on the computer when I have to. I also answer the telephone calls, and I am in charge of the photocopying machine. All sorts of people come to use that machine all the time. I told you the boss is very kind and lets everybody use the machine. But since the machine broke down some months ago, I have been spared from that job. I have plenty of peace and quiet these days." With a playful smirk, she added, "I hope the machine never gets repaired." "Please tell me more. What else do you do in the office?" Yishimo asked. There must be other interesting things that her friend was not telling her. "There's nothing much else. It's nice to sit in an office, to have the Bukhari, or fire stove, blazing on cold winter days. My colleagues are very nice. It's easier working in an office than working at home, that's for sure." Yishimo imagined her friend operating all those machines. How important she must feel. She had felt so proud when she had cooked rice in the electric rice cooker for the first time. The rice cooker was the only machine she could operate. "Then, at the end of the month, you get the salary," said Yishimo dreamily. "It is different, but who do you think does the housework for me anyway? I still have to do it. I still have to cook and clean and wash my clothes. Come on, you've seen me working in my garden during the weekends. Going to work in an office does not mean that I don't have to do work at home." "I suppose you're right, but it is still better than being stuck in the house like me. No salary, no prestige, just doing nameless jobs day after day. My mother always tells me that before I realize it, I will have a string of children, and then I will be tied down for the rest of my life like her. My mother is such an unhappy person. I'm afraid I will become like her." She had never said this to anyone. In fact, she was surprised that she even verbalized this fear, for she had never allowed herself to think of this. "So I will always be an illiterate, unhappy person, just like my..." Her voice trailed off. "You can attend the adult literacy classes. They are conducting classes in the school every evening," Chonzom suggested. "How will that help me?" Yishimo was puzzled. "You will not think of yourself as a useless, illiterate person after you attend these classes. You will be able to read and write. Once you can read, you will read about all sorts of things and about people everywhere." Yishimo was not persuaded. "You are crazy. How can I go to school now?" It will be so embarrassing. You know how old I am. Of course, you can still go. There will be so many other women attending the classes. Some of them are even older than you. Why should going for literacy classes be embarrassing? You can try and see for a few days, and if you don't like it, they can't force you to stay. Just then, the electricity came, and Chonzom immediately switched the TV on. The Bhutan Broadcasting Service, BBS, was just giving the reminder of yesterday's news headlines in Dzongkha and concluded with yesterday's weather forecast. Bumthang got the BBS program a day later by post on cassette. Chonzom changed the channel and they watched something else. But Yishimo could not concentrate on the TV for she was still thinking of the adult literacy classes. Yes, she would try to do something on her own. She would start attending the classes from tomorrow onwards. She had decided for herself. She would not always wait for Mother to tell her what to do. I will not ask Mother, she heard a voice in her head. She felt her heart beating excitedly, like on the first day she went to school many years ago. As she made her way home, walking over the cobblestone path with the help of a flashlight, the childish tune of the alphabet A, B, C, D came to her lips. The powerful experience of making a decision for herself made her feel free, and she hummed the tune of the nursery rhyme all the way home. The end.